Welcome back to the CSC Garage. In this episode, we're going to be bringing life back into your motorcycle. The number one reason why you need to put life back in your motorcycle is because it has been sitting. It might be your motorcycle, it might be a used motorcycle that you bought, it might only have 25 miles on it, but if it's been sitting, it's gonna need some work to get it back living. You wouldn't believe how many phone calls we get on a daily basis from customers who have let their motorcycles sit or who have bought used motorcycles that they can't get started. Unfortunately, we don't have a tech hotline where we can help step by step. Unfortunately, we don't have a tech hotline where we can diagnose over the phone. However, we wanted to make this video to go over some of the most basic places you can start to get your motorcycle started. We're going to look at two systems, the electrical system and the fuel system. These are easy to do, so let's get started. First thing we want to look at is the electrical system, because the first thing you do after sitting in that saddle is turn the key, and there's nothing worse than nothing happening when you turn it. Today's test subject, the SG250, is just that, a test subject. These procedures and tests that we're going to do can be done to any internal combustion motorcycles. This is a 12-volt battery on a 12-volt electrical system. Let's test the voltage. As you can see, this is a healthy battery, but it's actually got 12.67 volts fully charged. So sitting on a shelf, this battery could potentially be holding 13 volts of charge. It's a good, new, healthy battery. That's the first thing you want to make sure you have at least 12 volts on your battery to start the motorcycle. If your battery is at a current state of charge below 12 volts, you want to charge your battery before trying to start again. If your battery will not hold 12 volts or does not have any more cranking amps left in it, you'll want to replace your battery. A lot of auto parts stores do carry motorcycle batteries. However, a lot of those batteries are not compatible with your motorcycle. Be sure to get on their website and find out which batteries are compatible with your motorcycle. You can even buy them and have it shipped to your doorstep. If you're suspicious about the health of the battery, or you're buying a used bike and you don't know how long the battery has been in the motorcycle, you want to get it tested. And a lot of auto parts stores will test batteries for free. One of the best ways you can maintain a battery is by simply using it. Going on rides that are long enough to not only recharge the battery, but also give it time to balance back out. Another simple way to perform maintenance on your battery is to use a battery tender. Keeping a battery on a battery tender, which is a smart charger, will not only prolong the life of the battery, but also ensure that convenience that you have good voltage as soon as you get on the motorcycle and are ready to ride. These are easy to install. They have a pigtail that attaches to the battery. The plug hangs down. When you pull into your garage, simply plug in and it will maintain that battery for you. All that being said, a battery tender is not a miracle worker. So just because you kept your battery on the battery tender for the last 3 years doesn't mean that that battery is going to be able to crank your motorcycle when you're ready to ride. One of the first things you would do anytime you have any sort of electrical issue on your motorcycle is first check that these are securely fastened. These are the terminals of the battery. Make sure both wires are securely fastened to that. Also, you're going to want to find where the main ground for your harness is. On the SG250, it's on the left side. Also on the TT250. All motorcycles have a main ground wire that grounds the entire electrical system, at least one of those. So check these fasteners and check the ground fastener. Now, you've ensured that you have a healthy, fully charged battery in your motorcycle. You turn the ignition key, you still get no action. You want to put your attention now on the fuse. Some motorcycles have blade fuses. This particular one has a glass tube-like fuse. Let's take a closer look. The SG250 has a pod that holds its fuse in place. There's also a spare. All of our motorcycles come with a spare fuse that can be swapped out. So if you're turning that ignition key, you have a good battery, you're not getting the action, inspect the fuse or even swap it out. I've seen these glass fuses actually lose continuity on the ends rather than burning through the middle. So that's not always an indication that it's a good fuse. I would swap it out to test it out. We now have a good, healthy, fully charged battery in this motorcycle, so we're gonna get it started. And then what I wanna check next is the charging system. Make sure that charging system is putting power back into the battery. We have the 12-volt electrical system, a 12-volt battery, but you'll notice now that the bike's running, the charging system is putting out more voltage. That allows the functions of the motorcycle to work, but also that battery to be replenished. And you'll even see that when we give it a little bit of throttle, that voltage spikes up, signifying that the charging system is working. One other thing to mention about the starting system is the starter relay. Let's say you have a healthy battery, you turn your ignition switch on, the dash lights up, it's in the run position, but when you hit that starter button, you're not getting any activity. A lot of people rush to the conclusion that they need a new starter. A lot of times it just means they need a new relay switch. Now, some people refer to this as the starter solenoid. This is a great place to start. Replacing that will often allow the starter motor to receive the energy it needs to turn over. You might also check the wiring and the switch functions on your kill switch and the starter button as well if you're not getting any activity on the starter. Now, let's talk about another system that can cause failure to start, and that is the fuel system. You cannot leave old gas in your tank, in your carb, or even in a fuel injected system. Old fuel will clog and gum up the works. Although it's difficult to find cheap gas nowadays, it's not hard to find cheaply made gas. Gas breaks down really quickly. The ethanol will evaporate off. Chemicals that are left tend to dirty and gum up the carburetor, any small passageways that they can find themselves in. Even the tank. If you open your tank and it smells anything like paint varnish, you know you've got bad gas. If you've had a bike that's been sitting for a couple of months, you're gonna want to empty out that tank of gas and put in fresh gas just to start with. You can preserve fuel a little longer by using a fuel stabilizer. Make sure you follow the exact instructions. But if you have gas that was left in the tank, get rid of it. If you have gas that was left in the bowl of the carburetor, now some people will take precautions. They'll turn the fuel valve to the off position, no more fuel's leaving the tank. And then they'll empty out their carb, whether they drain it or if they burn off what's left in it. But also think about a fuel injected system. That fuel could go bad in all sorts of channels and hoses. Your carburetor itself, you can imagine how easy it is for this to get clogged up or gummed up. We do have a YouTube video that shows how to clean this particular carburetor and even install a jet kit in it. However, most people don't clean these thoroughly enough. They'll call and say they've cleaned their car but are still having a rough running motorcycle. This is because it's not clean enough. You need to either use an electrolysis cleaner and really follow that step-by-step cleaning procedure, or submerge this in some carb cleaner for several hours, or simply buy a new carburetor. They're very inexpensive and that'll give you a clean ride. Now we have a good battery. Our electrical system's working. You turn your ignition on, it comes on. You're hitting the starter button, it's turning the starter over, which is turning the combustion engine over. We've got a good fresh fuel supply, the carb's clean, fuel in the tank. Let's check out the spark plug. This is one other thing you can check when you're trying to get a motorcycle running. I'm gonna remove this one. Let's examine this electrode. You don't want too dark or of a sooty look. That means that that spark plug is fouled out. It had too rich of a fuel mixture going in. Maybe someone was trying to do too many hard starts. You want to make sure that the spark plug looks good, you've got the correct gap, but more importantly, let's check and make sure this motorcycle is giving us spark to the engine. That's a simple procedure. We'll put the spark plug back in the cap, and then we'll start hitting the starter button while grounding the spark plug to the engine. One word of precaution, if you do test the spark this way, make sure that you're holding the rubber boot and you're grounding to the engine. If you get anywhere near that, it will arc over and give you a little jolt. Now, of course, there's a long laundry list of items and checks and inspections that should be made on a motorcycle that's been in storage or has not been running, especially before you ride off into the sunset. If any of these procedures are beyond your skill set, You need to find a shop in your local area that can professionally diagnose, repair, or maintain your motorcycle. If you're lucky enough to be local to Azusa, give us a call and set up an appointment and have our professional technicians work on your motorcycle. Other resources you can use from our website: download the owner's manual, check out our YouTube videos, check out our pictorials, and whatever you do, once your machine's up and running, enjoy the ride.